say about the size of like a potato, bread roll, mango, it's a good size. And you want to place this right in the middle of your page here. You want this nice and tall. Leave a little bit of room for her hair and her neck and her shoulders. So we're just going to have this right in the center. And it's okay if it's a little tilted, if it's a little lopsided. This is where we're going to go back in and start to fix things. So get something that kind of looks like an oval there. And then when you start to see like, oh, it looks like she has a dent on her head on this right side, like mine does. Just add in more lines. Start to fix it with as many lines as you need to. Think about this as like you're searching for your drawing in all these lines, or you're exploring your sketch here. And there you go. That's Joy. No, I'm kidding. Let's add in some guidelines here. Just seeing if you're awake. We're going to draw in a vertical line down the center. This is going to tell us that she's facing forward in our sketch. So it looks like a coffee bean on your paper now. We're also going to divide it in half from left to right. So that way we can see where her eyes are going to sit in her face. But when you think about Joy, there is a very defining feature for her. Besides on her face, on top of her head, her hairstyle is really unique. So I'm going to go from where the horizontal guideline is, and I'm going to stretch out this like letter C on either side. It's pulling right in to that guideline, but it's going wider as I go up a little bit higher. So it looks like your egg has little arms and it's asking for uppies. On the left side here, we're going to continue that curve. I'm going to follow that top curve of her head, of my oval, right up to my center guideline. So now it's like you're adding a layer on top of this. But here on the right side, as we meet that center guideline, this is where her hair is going to pull out towards a point. Because if you look at Joy, when she stands, like she'll tend to do like a literal jump for joy. And her head makes a point, her arms and her legs make 4 more points. What shape does she tend to resemble? A star, right? That is one of the shapes that the emotions are based off of. Is for Joy, she is a star shape. The top of her head kind of looks like a Hershey's Kiss, though. We're actually going to draw in her bangs. She has these bangs that swoop over towards the right side. So I'm just going slightly left of my center guideline and then stretching out this letter U towards the right. So it'll give her just a little bit of her bangs there. To make it not look so much like a helmet for Joy, you want a few pieces of hair to stick out. So they look like these little blades of grass, these little shark fin shapes here. But we're going to pause on adding new things to our sketch, and I want to show you what it's going to look like when you want to start to keep things about your drawing. Her hair and the outside part of her head are definitely things that we can go back and keep right now. And when you want to keep things about your sketch, you're going to start to go over them one more time with much darker lines. So notice that I'm starting to press down much harder with my pencil and making the lines that I like stand out on my sketch. So things like our guidelines, things like parts of the oval that are being covered up by her hair, those things, you won't notice them as much as you start to darken up the things you want people to see about your sketch. This is called locking in your lines or locking down your shapes. So basically the dark lines do the erasing for you. They do a lot of the heavy lifting there. As we go back and lock all this stuff in, I'll tell you a little bit more about Inside Out, and Inside Out 2, because we got the second movie as well. But for the first Inside Out movie, that movie was directed by Pete Docter, and Pete Docter was noticing things about his daughter as she was growing up. This movie is a very personal story for him, because his daughter Ellie, yes, Ellie, like Carl's wife from Up, she was actually named after his daughter, because he also directed Up. And young Ellie was actually voiced by his daughter too. But Ellie, as she was growing up, he noticed that she was going from a very outgoing child to a very shy child instead as she started to get older. And he was like, what's going on with her? What's going on inside of her head? Instead of going to therapy, he made a movie about it. No, I'm kidding. But he wanted to explore what kids go through as they age and those emotions, those mood swings we all go through. So he wanted to make a movie about that. And then, of course, he consulted psychologists and therapists. But when they originally made Inside Out 1, they wanted 27 different emotions. Imagine trying to follow 27 main characters. It gets a little too hectic. We don't get to spend enough time with the characters that way either. So when he talked to the psychologists and therapists, he was like, "What are the main emotions? How can we narrow this down?" And they said, "Well, there are five main emotions that everybody feels. Joy is one of them. Can you name the other four?
Anger.
Sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. Yes. And I'm talking about the shapes that they're all based out of. And let's add in a bit more to Joy here, because right now she's just a floating head. She's looking like Madame Leota. We want to add in her neck and her shoulders, so that way we can see a little bit of her dress. Her star pattern is actually represented on her dress too. So underneath her chin, I'm just adding these two outward facing parentheses, so it looks like you're drawing a small trunk of a tree. And then you just want to widen out the bottom to give her shoulders here. But to draw on her dress, she has this little sun dress that she wears. Reminds me a lot about like summer and a really happy time for a lot of kids too is summertime. We're not at school, right? And yet you're all here learning classroom. But draw the collar of her dress, which is just stretched out letter U. And you want to pull down two lines on the insides of her shoulders to show that it's sleeveless. You can draw any pattern that you want on her dress, but I'm going to draw what looks like a starburst or like a little firework there too. There's five little lines, but you can add in something that makes you happy, like churros all over her dress. Maybe you want to draw some hearts there, anything that you want, any pattern. You don't even have to draw this dress on her. What I love about the emotions is in other people's heads, they start taking on the characteristics of the people that they're inside of, right? Like Riley's dad, all of his emotions all have big mustaches like he does. Right. But we now have our silhouette here of Joy. You guys hanging in there?
Yes.
All right, cool. Two people. Awkward silence for the rest of you. Well, remember we were talking about shapes. So Joy is based off of the star shape. And if you look at Sadness, she's got a really round, wide top, but like her feet are really tiny. If you turn her upside down, she looks a lot like what shape? A teardrop, right? And if you look at Anger, he looks like what? Yeah, he looks like fire, but he's also based off of a fire brick. He's very square. And if you look at Fear, he's actually based off of how a nerve ending looks in the human body. But Disgust is my favorite one because she is based off of the shape of something that Riley really does not like. Yeah, she's broccoli shaped. Though in other countries, they actually have to change the vegetable that Riley didn't like because in Japan, apparently they found out kids really like broccoli over there, but they didn't really like green bell peppers. So in that version, she has green bell peppers. Imagine if she was bell pepper shaped. Mm. But let's start adding in her facial features here. We're gonna add in her nose, which is also a little point. It is this upside down letter V. You want to place it right underneath that horizontal guideline, right in the middle of her face. Since she is basically the embodiment of the feeling of joy, we're going to give her the biggest smile that we can, what we call a laughing smile. Because that's the first thing Riley does when she's a baby, right? She laughs. And then what does she do almost immediately after? She starts crying and then sadness shows up, right? So we're going to draw in this nice big smile here for her. I'm going to draw in a letter U shape. And it doesn't have to be symmetrical. What's really cool about drawing is if you add a little asymmetry to it, making things look a little off kilter, they tend to have a lot more motion to them. They feel more alive that way. So I'm drawing in this nice big smile for her. At the ends of her smile, we show that her smile is so big it's pushing up her cheeks by adding in what we call smile lines. Just two little rainbows on either end. But on the inside of her smile, since her mouth is wide open like this, what might we see? Her tongue and a top row of teeth, because she's got a really big smile there. You can add a churro in there if you want to as well. That is my favorite sound. That laughter, that was so cute. I'm gonna draw in her top row of teeth, which is just a thin letter U shape at the very top. And then her tongue is just gonna be a little rainbow here at the bottom. The last feature for Joy is going to be her eyes. So she's got fairly large eyes on her. We're gonna draw in some nice big ovals. You wanna sit them right on top of that horizontal guideline. It's gonna feel a little weird for a second because she looks like she's seen some things. But that's okay. Maybe Riley had a nightmare and it was a terrifying one to get woken up in the middle of the night going, what's going on? But we want to add in some things here at the bottom, actually taking away part of those eyes, just by drawing in the top part of her cheek, pushing into her eyes from that big old smile that she's got. So I'm just going to add in these two little rainbows at the very bottom. And we also like to give our characters what's called a lash line. Instead of drawing individual lashes for them, we'll build up the line weight, making the lines thicker towards the top. That way it implies that you have those lashes up there. It looks like, or she's got like thicker eyeliner. It also helps if you need to fix your eyes. The more eyeliner, is how you fix it. Might end up with Trixie Mattel. This could be her Joy in her head. But her eyes are something that you can customize. You don't have to draw in these nice big pupils like I'm going to draw here. You could draw different shapes. Maybe you want to draw a star shape. Maybe you want to draw something, that thing that makes you happy here. Draw some little Mickeys in there. But the eyes should always be the darkest part of your sketch. You really want to go in and shade them in really nice and dark. So that way they stand out over the rest of your drawing. Now, we're actually going to see only one eyebrow here for Joy because her bangs cover up the other one for the most part. But it's also okay to draw over her bangs too. That happens quite a bit in animation. We really want to make sure a lot of times that the eyebrows, convey those emotions. So we often don't mind if the eyebrows are right over the hair. But that is everything that you need here for your sketch of Joy. Now, I do recommend shading in her hair a little bit too, because if you look at all the characters or the emotions in Riley's head, they're all what we call monochromatic. If you look at them, they're like different shades of the same color. Like sadness is different shades of blue, disgust is different shades of green, etc. But Joy, she's the only one that she's yellow, but with blue hair. And it was because the point that the first movie basically makes is that you can't know Joy without knowing a little bit of sadness. So that's why she has that blue color to her hair. It was also to make sure she didn't get confused with Tinkerbell. Yeah. Because she got a little green dress. She's got a short little pixie haircut. I'm adding in just a little bit of blush there, makes her look extra cute. But the last and final step of everyone's sketch is finding a good spot somewhere next to your sketch of Joy, signing your name. All right. Now that we're finishing up our drawings, did you guys have fun?
Yes.
All right, I like that. We're feeling very joyful for our sketches, all right? So on the count of 3, I want to see how you guys did, even if you're not done, all right? 1, 2, 3. Let's see Joy. She looks great. Look at how happy she is. You made my voice squeak with how happy she is. Very nice job over here as well. Look at the hair up there. I love these big smiles. You drew a lot of emotions there. Look at that, the full movie. I like her little sweater over here. That's looking really cute. She's got a lot of joyful friends there too. The biggest joy right over here. We got big happy feelings. Excellent job over here as well. You guys did fantastic with all of these. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Get past the Animation Academy. Wonderful job, everyone. Now these drawings, these are yours to keep and take home with you as souvenirs. So go ahead and take them off your boards. I'm going to leave you here with Thomas. He's going to help you on out. If we don't see you again, have a great rest of your day, and class is dismissed.
Let's have a big round of applause for Danny. You're an amazing artist. Well, thank you all for joining us here at the Animation Academy.